told you before. I told you before. When the time comes, they will come to us. And I remind you, I know my national security advisor always reminds me I shouldn't utter certain words, but I say them so you don't forget. Because I know they are trying to take me down. But even if I'm not around, don't forget. You don't owe them child support. Don't forget the crimes they've committed against us. We, this generation, will defeat Cameroun in battle. They said they could fight. They said they had trained bees. They had United States provided tanks and warplanes. We want them to fight. We invite them to fight. We invite them to fight. Where them they? Where them they? Watana wata. Ambazonians, don't be fooled. They fooled us before, not this generation. This is the never again generation that has decided to write the last chapter of its own history, to pen down the story of General Ivo, the bravery of our patriots who fought in trenches with den guns. The stakes are high. Negotiations is not to give you freedom. It's to maintain the status quo. To maintain stability for international exploitation and conspiracy against our own humanity. They aren't coming to talk for the liberation of our detainees, our prisoners of war. They come like Trojan horses with bayonets to murder our patriots volunteers. My fellow people, the kind of country we want to leave to the next generation is one where people find peace and happiness and hope. Where people can laugh even in poverty. They can transform their own society to reflect the kind of society they want to build. We want to build a country where he can walk in and feel at home. Where she can walk in and feel at home. We want to build a country where if you are a hairdresser, you take pride in creating beauty. If you are a farmer, you are happy producing cassava, being able to turn it into gari and find the market 6,000 kilometers away. We want to build a country where we can have a curriculum of education that empowers our people to capture the creative energy of sunlight and power every home.
Happy New Year to you all, the great people of Ambazonia. We hope you have a safe and a peaceful New Year's celebrations. Even though this is time of war, we encourage our people to celebrate knowing their surroundings and their circumstances. We encourage the Ambazonian people to celebrate putting all safety measures in place. Happy New Year to you all, our beautiful people. I want to update all of you on the developments and what's going on in the international community. What's going on with regards to the Ambazonian leader, Dr. Cho Ayaba. The Ambazonian Governing Council was created as an institution for the liberation of our homeland. Was created as an institution to champion the liberation of our homeland, to champion the advocacy and the mobilization of the Ambazonian people for the liberation of our homeland, both in the diaspora and on the ground. Stakes are high. Cameroon is in a bubble. Cameroon is in a very desperate situation. The opposition in Cameroon, opposition parties in Cameroon have no political will. They lack the leadership. They lack the moral conviction. They lack the leadership skills needed to convince the Cameroonese people of a new alternative. That's why the murderous regime of Mr. Paul Biya continue to exist. In its desperate attempt to avoid negotiations, in its desperate attempt to use bribery and corruption on a people that for more than 6 decades have experienced political, economic, social, cultural annihilation. They know our people are vulnerable. They know our people are gullible. They know our people are cheap. That's why they are exploiting your successes. We have achieved a lot. We've done a lot in a relatively short period of time. We have provided the best leadership for a people. We have provided the most transparent, credible leadership, an honest leadership, a servant kind of leadership for our people. Cameroon being Cameroon will use it against you. They don't want you to be free. They don't want you to have the kind of leadership and trust in an institution that will take you to the finish line. So they've created all sorts of groups, recruited all sorts of activists to be doing the talking for them, to be doing the fighting for them. They are not fighting the AGOFC. They are not fighting the ADF. They are fighting Ambazonia on behalf of Cameroon. It's the nature of the game. It's how politics is done. It's the same fate the people of Palestine have faced. Israel also has created groups, sponsored groups, to use them for the downfall of the Palestinian people. Study liberation struggles. I encourage all of you to go out there, read the literature, read what's happening, study the strategies, study the methodologies. Don't be deceived. The science is out there. The roadmaps are out there. What the Israelis have been able to use to achieve their own military and political objectives, the strategies are out there for anyone who wants to study them. All right? The Cameroon government in a desperate attempt to hold elections in 2025, wrote an appeal letter to the Biden administration, an appeal letter to the United States, an appeal letter to the US intelligence services and the State Department of the Biden administration, seeking for help from higher authorities. The Cameroon government knew if they wrote to the Norwegians to orchestrate the arrest of Dr. Cho Ayaba, the Norwegians would refuse. So Cameroon sought help through the United States to use its might, to use its influence, and to use its global authority to mount pressure on the Norwegian government through their intelligence services to orchestrate the arrest of Dr. Cho Ayaba. All right? That's what happened. We have the documents. In the letter, the Cameroon government, Mr. Biya, the Cameroon government wrote to the State Department. Let me paraphrase. They have succeeded to dialogue and reach negotiated settlement with other political agitators from the Northwest and Southwest regions. The only stumbling block to peace and for peace to return for the Cameroon government to successfully hold elections in the Northwest and Southwest is the Ambazonia Governing Council and the Ambazonia Defense Forces under the control of Dr. Cho Ayaba. Fellow Ambazonians, I hope say all wanna be get a safe Christmas. All wanna be take some small time for celebrate and for honor the birth of Christ. Wanna be take some more time for spend our families. Wanna be take some more time for spend our friends. Wanna be take some more time for remember what happiness it be all about. And for remember this time when at the birth of Christ. A time for renewal, a time of hope, a time of faith, a time for think about a better future. I want to wish all una a very happy new year. As una dey take the time for prepare and for celebrate new year, make una take into consideration the una surroundings and the circumstances of war. We encourage all una for celebrate, as una dey celebrate, make una understand una dey under oppression, una dey under occupation, and una dey under war. So una celebrate these things in mind. Happy New Year for all. Today I want to give una an update on the situation diplomatically and what did happen within the corridors of international power. The Ambazonia Governing Council, they create as a liberation movement for champion the independence of the Ambazonian people. They create the Ambazonia Governing Council as a movement for mobilize the Ambazonian people then for the territory and for the diaspora for work together for champion the independence of the Ambazonian people. They create the Ambazonia Governing Council as an organization where it go advocate and go champion the diplomatic push for the independence of the Ambazonian people. With all those things in mind, they create the Ambazonia Governing Council as an institution, not be an organization for a one man. And an institution we go continue to exist for many years, for many decades to come. That the vision that we put up for the Ambazonia Governing Council until the Ambazonian people then they achieve independence, create a government of their own on the ground, where it be run, managed, and controlled by the Ambazonian people then. That's the reason that we create the Ambazonia Governing Council. The Cameroon government understand, say for more than 6 decades, for 60-something years, they don't deprive our people then for political, economic, social opportunities where they feel build lives where they don't go depend on the colonial state. So the Cameroon government understand Ambazonians will be very poor and Ambazonians will be very corrupt because Cameroon don't teach them which they call and say corruption. And people for survive, they get for rely on bribery, they get for rely on corruption, they get for rely on the evils of Cameroon for Ambazonia, for most Ambazonians for survive. Cameroon understand that one. Cameroon understand. Say as the Ambazonian people rise up for fight for this independence. Most Ambazonians, where they show their head for outside, say they be political leaders, they go fall into the hands of bribery and corruption. Cameroon understand that one. Because Cameroon get a track record of Ambazonians. See, every time they rise up, when you offer them money, you offer them position, you offer them opportunities, they go betray their own people then. Because now the habits that Cameroon don't teach the Ambazonian people. So for the desperate attempt where Cameroon not win the war, Cameroon not defy the fighting on the ground, Cameroon not bribe and corrupt some movements and some leaders and some activists, the Cameroon government, it want make sure say the elections where they come up for 2025, their presidential elections, they also hold for the Ambazonian territory. The Cameroon government, it be no say if he write letter directly to the government of Norway for push, for they make the arrest Dr. Cho Ayaba because Cameroon it go fabricate stories, it go create all kind nonsense where Cameroon know how to do them. The government of Norway, knowing how Cameroon it be barbaric and Paul Biya being a dictator, knowing the war with the going for Ambazonia, the government of Norway no go arrest Dr. Cho Ayaba. So the Cameroon government, it write a detailed letter to the Joe Biden administration. It write a detailed letter to the Biden administration through their State Department. With that letter, it also be now for their intelligence services, so they call and say FBI. That letter, it asked the United States, make her read some of the things to the writer for that letter. I will just paraphrase her. I no go read word for word. I not get the right for read word for word. For one of these things, the Cameroon government talks say, it don't successfully finish the negotiation and they don't reach for a peace agreement with other movements where they agitate from the Northwest and Southwest. The only thing where they make and peace never come for the Northwest and Southwest, now the one where they call them say the Ambazonia Governing Council, the Ambazonia Defense Forces, where they under the leadership of Dr. Cho Ayaba. That the thing that way Cameroon government, it right time for the government of Norway, of United States. So they appeal for the United States, make it use a big power, make it use a influence for ask the government of Norway for arrest Dr. Cho Ayaba. In that way, when they arrest Dr. Cho Ayaba, Cameroon will get the opportunity for push make the elections the whole for the Northwest and Southwest. Now for the arrest of Dr. Cho Ayaba, they come out because the Norwegians, They work with their international partners from the United States. The pressure from the US government is over plenty. America is a big country, one of the biggest superpower for the world. They have the pressure on the Norwegian government, on the Norwegian, the pressure on the Norwegian intelligence services is over plenty. The intelligence services, they trigger the arrest of the leader. So now they update this way, I want to give the Ambazonian people. When we see a lot of the noise about ADF Nadis, AGOV-C Nadis, Ayaba Nadis, Ayaba Nadis, Ayaba Nadis, AGOV-C Nadis, ADF Nadis, make una understand place where those noise that they come out. I don't always tell una, I don't listen to what they happen. They will understand what be the underlying intention. What be the underlying intention of an Ambazonian activist for come outside, for come begin show, say, oh, na for Ambazonian fighters that they sleep, see as Ambazonian fighters that they sleep for bush, see as they suffer. Any they do am so na because he want to encourage Ambazonian fighters. They do am so na for demoralize you, na for make you give up the fight. So when they see all this noise on social media, this noise they be deliberately designed and they be deliberately pushed by the Cameroun military intelligence services. So when we continue for listen for people them way, they be anti our own liberation struggle. That one they do am not be because we like for listen for those things, but because Cameroon understands say we get a weak mind. The Ambazonian people they get a weak mind. They like gossip. They like cheap things them. So the information where you consume them now a poison to your mind. I don't always tell you now. Poison not only what you will take and drink. Poison, it also comes in the form of information. When you consistently, any man we don't be around for this liberation struggle since 2016, you always know say they say. When I remember who they call a Nancho, when I remember Nancho, when I remember Nancho, right? The Ambazonian guy where he said he be an activist based in Germany. When I remember he, how many years he spent on? ADF, AGOV-C, Ayabacho. Una no place we end up, right? Now remember Eric Tato? Eric Tato spent 3 years. Ayabanadis. Ayaba the work for La Republique, Ayaba the work for La Republique, Ayaba the work for La Republique, ADF the define for La Republique, ADF na La Republique create them. Who say end up? So there is a history. There is a history of every person where it consistently a goal na ADF, Ayaba, and AGOV-C. There is a history. There's a track record of every single person. They get a place where they come up, and they get a place where afraid they receive their benefits, and they get a place where afraid their narratives that they come out, they push them outside. Not listen for what I tell you. Go look at the history, because me, I be a student of life. I pay attention to patterns. I pay attention to consistency of speech, because it tells me motive. As a person who don't spend 15 years as a strategic interventionist for leadership coaching, we know these things. Human behavior, they be predictable. Human behavior and human motives, they be predictable every time. So after all these things, you don't arrest the leader, as I don't give una the intel, the Cameroon government don't complete a negotiation and peace agreement with Ambazonian movements. So the stumbling block na egg of sea. Their settlement don't finish. All right? That's why now they tell una say, even if you want to go drop your arms, if you go drop your arms, if you do this, that's why they can't tell una now. I want to assure all una, we'll be prepared for all these things. We anticipate all these things because we understand Cameroon. The Ambazonia Governing Council, the leadership of the council, they meet up last week for do the review of the liberation struggle, for do a review of the ground, state by state, for do a review. We also not only do a review of the liberation struggle, we do an internal review of the organization, department by department. Then we finish a review of how diplomacy don't work out for 2024 and 2023 and 2024. Today, at myself, I don't let us at the talk owner because meeting don't start 4 minutes ago. The Ambazonia Governing Council, they meet up right at this very moment for craft the winning plan for 2025. We meet up right now for craft the decisive winning plan for the liberation of Ambazonia for 2025. And we can't give a detail. The Vice President of Ambazonia Governing Council, he can address the Ambazonian people and tell them what exactly go happen for 2025. The changes will go happen for 2025. How we go move this liberation struggle to the next level for finish the work of this generation, for deliver a free homeland to the Ambazonian people. No matter who betray una, no matter who betray your sacrifices, there is an organization with a group of brothers and sisters spread across the globe. They be governed by principle, by character. We take an oath for the way we will conduct ourselves. We'll be chosen and we'll be selected by something special, by something bigger, by something higher. Dr. Cho, with the incoming administration, with the coming, we don't understand when Donald Trump will be come in, the fire will be put on for La République du Cameroun. At one point, Mr. Trump will be one push for the removal of Paul Biya for power. The dictator for Syria, when I don't see what it don't happen for it. Just Mr. Trump is winning of election. He never even take office. Assad for Syria, the Syrian dictator already fall. When I wait Donald Trump take office, when I go see what it go happen for La République du Cameroun and what it go happen for Paul Biya. The Ambazonia Governing Council will be at the forefront with the new administration. So fellow Ambazonians, as una enter into this new year, make una celebrate with a spirit of positive expectancy. Una celebrate with a spirit of positive expectation. Others go betray una. The few of we will remain. We will deliver a free homeland to the Ambazonian people. The forces, we don't change the way the fighting they go on. We don't change our strategy because we know what Cameroun define. We don't adapt ourselves. The leader will come out. For that one, we no need for worry. The leader don't talk, say, make we focus on the ground. But we will leave them until the vice president, they can address una. And then we go hear the sugar we come for 2025. Make a leave now. I go join the meeting. I be talking. Make a take this small time. I can give una the update of the liberation struggle because una deserve for know anything where they happen with una leader and with a liberation struggle. Anything where you want to know about the truth of this liberation struggle, about facts and about things then, because a lot of the activists that they talk out there, they are not players in the arena of the liberation. All right? Most of the activists that they talk out there, they are not players in the arena of the liberation struggle. So they are not actors of the liberation. They be side commentators. When now the Ambazonia Governing Council, they make the final statement when it comes to the Ambazonian liberation struggle. Because we'll be the primary actors in the arena of the Ambazonian liberation struggle. We'll be the center of power and authority. We'll be the center of diplomacy. And we'll be the center of Ambazonian self-defense and liberation. We be Ambazonia Governing Council. When we talk, that's the end. Now, good night. Happy New Year.
Mimi Mefo is the CDC deal. Dr. Samuel Komesago cannot say it did not exist because I took it to him. Mimi Mefo is the CDC deal. Dr. Samuel Komesago cannot say it did not exist because I took it to him. Mimi Mefo is the CDC deal. Dr. Samuel Komesago cannot say it did not exist because I took it to him.